Hello students, let's discuss about the next topic of the same chapter, coordination compounds, and the topic is crystal field theory. That is somewhat advanced theory as compared to the valency bond theory, because many of the questions which was actually unanswered in that theory can be answered and explained in this theory on the basis of crystal field theory. So imagination of this theory is actually based on the electrostatic repulsion and electrostatic attraction among the ligand particles and the cation or the metal ion particle. We have to be deal with why this theory actually required and what are the role of this theory to explain all the details which was actually not explained in the valency bond theory. Students, first consider it. According to this theory, the metal cation or metal ion believed as a charge particle and the ligand, either anionic ligand or a neutral ligand, it believed as a point charge again. Means both the particles, ligand as well as a cation, metal cation, believed as a point charge. Sometimes it is believed as the polar particle. The dipolar particles for ligands, those are actually neutral, believed as a dipolar particle, and the ligand which are actually anionic, believed as a point charge. Now think about it. The metal cation or metal having a 5 symmetrical d orbitals with the same energy level called degenerate orbitals. We have these 5 orbitals called degenerate orbitals because all 5 orbitals having a same energy. And this is actually in the absence of electric or magnetic field, external electric or magnetic field. So in the lack of external electric or magnetic field, all 5 d orbitals are symmetrically distributed around the nucleus of the central metal atom with the same energy called degeneracy or degenerate orbitals. But think over, if the point charge, that is ligand, approaching or directing towards the metal during the formation of coordinate bond, what will happen? As we know, the 2 point charge when we come closer, there will be difference of the energy, there will be difference of the electric field. And that external electric field objected because of the particles of the ligand can be disturbed, can be split, can be removed, the degeneracy which is already possessed by these 5 orbitals. So it's mean, according to this valency, this crystal field theory, we have to be think about the ligand can be behave like a point charge, having tendency to split the degeneracy of the 5 d orbitals of the central metal atom. Now we have to be learn how these 5 d orbitals are actually arranged according to the splitting or according to the lack of splitting. So first discuss about, there are 5 orbitals, okay? The first 3 orbitals are in between the axis, that is called dxy, dyz and dzx. And 2 orbitals are the at axis or towards axis, that is called dx square minus y square and dz square. So we have the 2 different set of the 5 orbitals. The 3 orbitals in between the axis and 2 orbitals at the axis towards the axis are the directed toward the axis. So these 5 orbitals I am selecting here. Suppose dxy, dyz, dzx, dx square minus y square and dz square. Now we have 3 orbitals in between the axis. 2 orbitals objected or directed towards the axis. On axis, in between axes. So these are the possibility. These are the possibility of the 5 orbitals. What happened when 5 d orbitals approached by ligand? What will be there? Before that, let us discuss about the splitting of the 5 d orbitals in crystal field theory for octahedral complexes. We are now talking about octahedral complexes that is majorly given in our syllabus. Crystal field splitting, CFS, crystal field splitting in octahedral complexes. Coordination number 6. So in octahedral complexes, when ligands approaching to the central atom are cation, the 5d orbitals first excited to the some extent of the energy level and they will form 5 set of a higher energy level, that is called excited level, and then after these two different set of energy orbitals are split up into two different parts with a higher energy and lower energy. Think about when point charge ligand approaching toward the central metal atom, those orbitals just directed toward the ligand must be experience a great repulsion. These two orbitals, which are called dx square minus y square and dz square, they will explain a great repulsion because these two orbitals are on the axis and will be directed towards the ligand during bond formation. So these two orbitals will get a high energy. Comparatively, these three, which is in between the axis, must be having a low repulsion and having a low energy. So these 5 orbitals in excited state is split up into two different parts with a set of higher energy and lower energy. These two sets are called two different sets, that is actually indicated by E and T2. But students, there is a center of symmetry in the case of octahedral complexes and square planar complexes. So due to this symmetrical term, these two sets termed as a subscript called G. This small g indicating the center of symmetrical terms, which is only used for octahedral complexes and square planar complexes. As you have to be known, in the case of tetrahedral, there is a lack of symmetry due to which this subscript g cannot be used. So splitting of the orbitals in the case of tetrahedral will only known as T2 and E. These are the name of the splitting set. And the difference energy. The difference of energy among them, these orbitals, in which, what is the difference of the energy of the two different sets, that is called delta. That is called crystal field splitting energy, sometimes crystal field stabilizing energy. This is called delta, and subscript O indicates it is for the octahedral complexes. So the difference between the splitting difference between the two different sets called delta O. This is called a Barry-Codes, average energy of the crystal that excited state orbitals, with context of that what much energy they actually get at the higher level and what is the lower level energy. So as compared to the 3 orbital, the two different orbitals having a 3 by 5 of delta O. So you can say that the total energy between these two sets is called delta, but these two orbitals, that is called T2c orbital, having a 3 by 5 of the delta O comparatively these three orbitals, and these T2c orbitals having 2 by 5 delta O comparatively these two orbitals. These are the energy difference among these orbitals. Now you have to be notice here, this splitting and the energy difference must be depend upon the approaching ligand, the nature of ligand, what extent the ligand can approaching to the central atom, and what amount of electric field and repulsion can be imposed by them will decide the difference of the energy between these two sets. It's mean if the ligand can be imposed a higher electrostatic repulsion, there will be a greater energy difference between the orbitals, these two orbitals, and if the ligand can be imposed a lower electrostatic repulsion, there will be lower difference. Simply more repulsion, more difference will be there. So the delta value, the difference of these two sets, that delta CFSE, crystal field stabilizing energy, this indicates the crystal field splitting energy or stabilizing energy. That value depends upon the nature of ligand and what electrostatic force can be imposed by that ligand. So simply, if the ligand can approach to the central metal atom, and because of that there is a large gap among the orbitals, that is called a higher value of delta O, indicating a strong field ligand. That is called a strong field ligand. So all those ligands which can be called a strong field, meaning they having a tendency to create a large enough delta O, and comparatively those orbitals, those ligands which can be imposed a lower energy set, lower energy difference, they are called weak field ligand. So we can say that we have a two different set of ligand. One is called a strong field ligand, the other is called weak field ligand. A strong field and weak field ligand. So we have two different sets. A strong field ligands. Why not? Right now you have to be learn. Let's learn what are the some strong field ligands majorly known. These are carbon monoxide, cyanide, ethylene diamine, and EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraacetate. The sequence or order of the decreasing of the strong field ligand is called electrochemical, I think, series. Some series there. Let spectrochemical series. Carbon monoxide, cyanide in ammonia, EDTA. Basically these five are basically known as strong field ligand. And why not other known as weak field ligand? So measure of the questions, measure of the complexes, what do we have to be learn now? These are depends upon these five strong ligand, and the rest are generally come under the category of weak field ligand, like halides, like water molecules. All halides, iodide, bromide, chloride, sulfide, thiocyanate, hydroxide, sometimes oxalate act like a strong field and sometimes weak field. So it will be depend upon the complex nature now. That can be explained separately, complex wise. water molecule, weak field ligand. So you should learn at least these 5 as strong and the rest are as a weak ligand. Because what are the nature, what are the factors will be there, that can be explained on the basis of that. Students, the filling of electron in these two set of orbitals will depend upon the nature of ligand. As I said here, the strong field ligand will create a large value of delta O. Will create the large delta O. We are actually discussing about two different types of energy level. Two different types of energy level. The one is called the crystal field splitting energy, which is caused due to the nature of ligand, a strong ligand causing a large delta O, and weak ligand causing a small delta O. The other is called the energy required to pair the electron in the same orbital, that is called pairing energy, P, the capital P. So why not let's discuss how can we decide the electron will get paired and when will there will be unpaired, remain unpaired. This will depend upon now the delta O and the pairing energy. Delta O and pairing energy. Okay? Let's discuss about that. Students, there is two possibilities. The first possibility is this P is called pairing energy. Okay? Suppose if the delta O is greater than P, means for a strong field ligand, the delta O is generally large, and due to the large delta O production are created by a strong field ligand, it is also greater than the P, the pairing energy. So what will happen in the case of strong field ligand? If a strong field ligand, the pairing energy is smaller than delta O, generally electron get paired, because according to Bond's rule, Pauli's exclusion and Navier principle, electron always must be go in the lower energy, then go in the higher energy level. So pairing of electron occur in the case of when pairing energy is smaller, because energy is smaller than delta O. But look at the second condition. In the case of weak field ligand, due to the weak field ligand, there is a small CFSE value of delta O that is smaller than P also. So now the greater pairing energy will cause unpaired of electron, because electron must be unpaired because pairing energy is greater now. So you should learn a strong field ligand. This first one is this is the condition of the strong field ligand, and second one is the condition of the weak field ligand. So what we learn in the valence bond theory, some of the ligand due to which there is a pairing of electron in the d orbital, this is due to the presence of the strong field ligand. Because of strong field ligand, there is a large value of delta O, which is greater than, which becomes greater than the value of P. Electron get paired instead of get unpaired. These are some possibilities. These are the some possibilities. Let's learn about it. Suppose we are talking about a D1 possibility. D1. In the last lecture, I have seen there was many problems regarding the students. So that's why I made one video, one topic of the same video. No? So for a D1 condition, electron must be go in the lower energy. D1 electron go in the lower energy, then D2, then D3. So D1, D2, D3, there is no change for weak ligand or strong ligand. We have to be discussed about D4 What should be there for D4? In the D4 condition, there is two possibilities. Either the electron get in the EG condition, or electron become paired in the same T2G condition. So there is two possibility for the D4 condition. Now look, if delta is a large than pairing energy, so smaller pairing energy causes a pairing of electron in the T2G. So D4 electron will enter in the T2G and electron get paired because of the strong ligand. That is the first possibility, D4 possibility. This D4 possibility is due to the presence of a strong ligand. Then D5 possibility, electron get paired again. D6 possibility, electron get paired again. But what about D7? There is no any place and vacancy. So now D7, the electron must be entered in the EG condition, and that is the condition D7, D8, D9, D10. So for the strong field ligand, when delta is greater than the pairing energy, the electron first get paired in the lower energy orbital, then will get in the higher energy orbital because of the large difference of delta. Got it? Okay. In the case of weak field ligand, in weak field ligand, the pairing energy is greater than the delta O. That's why the electron first should be follow the lower energy trend, that is delta. So delta is small enough to having unpaired electron. So D4, the fourth electron of the D subcell, must be entered in the EG. This is called D4, this is called D5, and now D6 will get paired in the T2G because this is the lower energy than EG. So this is D6, D7, D8, D9, D10. These are some conditions why electron field in the T2G or EG in the different ligands. So you should learn these 5 orbitals having tendency to create a large value of delta, due to which the electron get paired in the T2G, and for the rest of the ligands, the electron will remain unpaired in the T2G as well as EG according to Hund's rule. When they all orbitals will receive at least one electron in a parallel spin, then electron will be get paired according to Hund's rule. That is called maximum multiplicity. This is all about the crystal field splitting in octahedral complexes. Students, you should notice here how we can write the electronic configuration during the splitting of the orbitals in the complex formation. Many of the time they ask about in the board and competition what should be the electronic configuration of the D5, D4, D3 and so on. Okay? Let's discuss about that. We have 10 possibilities now. D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6, D7. Okay, let's discuss. A strong condition. Weak field ligand condition. Suppose we have a strong field ligand and we have a weak field ligand, so what will be happen? This is called T2G 1, EG 0, T2G 2, EG 0, T2G 3, EG 0. These three will be a common in the weak field ligand also, because D1, D2, D3 will not depend upon the strong or weak ligand field. So the same will be repeating: T2G1, EG0, T2G2, EG0, okay. Now this is the condition change for the D4 condition. In the strong field ligand, the D4 will get paired in the T2Z. So it will become T2Z 4 EG0, T2Z5 EG0 and T2Z6. Now now completing all 6 ligand, 6 electron in the T2Z, 7 electron will enter in the EG condition. So here T2G 6 EG1. These are the possibilities. But what will happen in the weak one? The weak one happen T2G 3 EG1. Electron will enter in the EG orbital because there is a small value of delta because of weak field ligand and pairing energy is larger than the delta value. And for the 5 there is T2G 3 EG2. Now for the 6 there will be change. So look at the electronic configuration, how we can write for the weak field ligand and for the strong field ligand. Because you should be actually provide some of the sums in the complex. And you find out that in the complex there is a strong ligand. So how can we write the configuration of the metal D5 or D4 or D3 in the strong field condition or weak field condition? These are the possibility to write the electronic configuration of the metal in the weak field ligand complex and strong field ligand complex. Okay, these are the splitting. Other thing, what should you have to learn? That is the same crystal field stability, the crystal field splitting in the tetrahedral complexes. The tetrahedral complex is just invert of the octahedral. So no need to explain any other thing. All the things will be remain same. There is only difference. In the case of tetrahedral complex, this splitting will be just invert of the octahedral complex. Means in the octahedral, T2G was a higher energy. In in octahedral there was EG was the higher energy. Now in tetrahedral, T2G will be a higher energy level. So that is the difference only. Look at the possibility. This is the degenerate orbitals, excited level, we are talking about delta tetrahedral. Delta is a CFSE value, crystal field splitting energy value for tetrahedral complexes. And this will be again 2 by 5, 3 by 5, delta T. One more thing you should learn, delta T is always smaller than the delta O value because there are the actually 6 ligand approaching to the actually 6 coordination number is there now. So 6 donor atom, 6 possibility of the electrostatic repulsion. In the case of tetrahedral, there is only a 4 coordination number, so exact value is actually 4 by 9. The exact value is 4 by 9. Okay, you can see these two orbitals are called E orbital because there is a lack of center of symmetry, so G subscript will not be used. So it is called E. This is called T2, and the difference is called crystal field splitting energy delta T, which is lower than the delta O because of the 4 coordination number and which is actually smaller than 4 by 9 value. So this is all about, this is all about the tetrahedral and octahedral complexes crystal field splitting. Okay, we'll learn some more about the same theory, then we'll start the color. The next topic is the color in coordination compounds. the color in coordination compound, and we'll solve some questions also. Then we'll discuss about the limitations of the crystal field theory. Okay, so some more explanation related to the same theory. Color formation on the basis of crystal field theory and the limitation of the crystal field theory we will discuss in the next lecture. Okay, thank you. Note down all these things, okay, carefully.